Hello everyone, this is Jotto, and welcome to another deck tech. Finally doing Wisdom Dominion. It has been a long time since I've done a Wisdom Dominion deck tech, that is for sure. Once upon a time, about a year ago, I was actually known for Wisdom Dominion. I was one of the pioneers of that particular version of the deck, which was ages ago when the balance of the game was completely different. But I got completely burnt out on it after about 3 months because I hate playing the mirror match. This is not exactly a hidden fact in my case. Now, before we start, this is my Masters list. This is the exact same deck, and it's tooled for Conquest specifically. It's a tournament list. The actual ladder lists are a little different, but I haven't been playing enough ladder to retool it, and I won't be playing this deck on ladder until the set comes out for sure, which will be in about 2 weeks probably, since we're getting our last set of secret cards tomorrow. So I imagine the set will be coming out just over a week from now. So in other words, this is your base list. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do red this week, and this is your base list. When the next set comes out, use this as your benchmark, is the idea. Now, this particular version is teched for the mirror match, but in general, it can take down the vast majority of decks. It is definitely one of the stronger decks in the entire metagame right now. So, first things first, Hero. Basic Despina. Now, Despina has a rather abusable ability, I think is the only way of putting that. Basically, it allows you to do crazy turns, usually involving lamps and vampirisms in one turn, where you'll be using upwards of 16 mana in one turn sometimes. This deck does use a lot of mana if it has it. The other tricks you can do are stuff with like ramp, refresh, Cataclysm a turn early. That's a good trick to use against aggro decks and is very, very handy. What I'm saying is that in general, she's very, very good. And the drawback beforehand has been the lack of draw, but nowadays the deck is playing Forge Inner Wishes, which is plenty of draw power. So you can afford to skip on the basic Darius or advanced Despina. So basic Despina is the hero of choice. So, what's your setup? Well, first of all, you got your ramp spells. Now, I am playing 3 Horizons, 3 Power Surge. Horizons is better. It is. The reason for that is because it gives you a level, and you're down a card by playing the Horizons, but you would have been down a card by using the level in the future anyway. So, you're effectively down in the long run 0 cards from having this ramp spell. Whereas in the case of Power Surge, with the exception of Skill Shrines, if you go up mana before 7, you're actually down a card permanently. So Power Surge is worse. It just is. Power Surge is definitely worse than Horizons. Why am I playing 3 of each and not a 4-2 split? That's simply because, as I said, this list was teched for the mirror match. And in the long games, you want Power Surge, not Horizons. Horizons is better, but you only ever want 2. The third one is always dead. The second one's sometimes dead, but the third one is always dead. And the fourth one is a completely dead card, like 100% useless. So I cut it down to 3 when we wanted to cut down to 6 ramp spells, because having ramp every single time in the mirror is not as important as it is against, for example, aggro decks. So we cut down to 6 ramp spells from the 7 that a lot of people are running, and we decided to cut 1 Horizons because it's worse in the really long games. So that's the ramp thing. Now, what are you doing with these ramp starts? So the idea is you ramp into a defensive play before getting to your Cataclysms. So what are the defensive plays? Well, after your ramp spell on turn 3, you've got 2 options. You've got your Library Guards, which draws cards, is a solid body, is better at just sort of fighting the mid-rangey decks and worse against the aggro decks. Like, against Rage, if they fireball it, you're taking so much damage that the card advantage doesn't actually matter. But against green decks, it has 3 speed, it interacts, it's very, very good, and it's a good top deck later. Very, very nice card. Now, the other option is Bloodseeking Mutant, which is an incredible asset against Rage and Nature, and even stuff like Demons. It's just absolutely incredible against anything that is aggressive and uses creatures to try and win in the first 10 turns. It is an amazing card. Do not underestimate it. It does sometimes get out of control with Cathedral as well, getting larger and larger. Multiples are insane. But this is your best opening possible against Rage is you go first, you play New Horizons on turn 2, you play your Mutant, and then you have a second Mutant, and then you pretty much won the game. So Bloodseeking Mutant is an incredible asset for the defensive openings, and you should cherish it in your opening hands. So past there, so that's your early game setup pretty much, is these 4 cards. So what else are you doing before you reach your Cataclysm? Well, there's a couple of options here. Mostly it's just setting up so that you don't get overwhelmed before you get your big reset. So Assassinate, 4 of, standard removal spell. You can run 3. In the metagame right now, there's so many Assassinate targets that I've just resorted to 4 because it's almost never dead. It's kind of insane. And also you can hit 3 attack stuff for 5 mana with a Mutant or a Vampiric of Cathedral. So it's just universal removal. Very, very good. The other one is Ancient Wisdom. Draw into your Cataclysms, draw into second ramp spell. So you can go ramp on turn 2 and then ramp Cataclysm 2 turns later. And then you've effectively just stabilized immediately just by using draw spells and ramp spells pretty much. So yeah, Ancient Wisdom is your draw spell in the deck. There's only 3 of them because you don't always want it. And I mean, you do want 1 or 2, but Djinn of Wishes is the real powerhouse draw. So that's your setup. Then after that you got your Cataclysm, you reset the board, and that's when the game actually starts. Now if you don't have to Cataclysm, either your opponent is playing Flame Serpent decks and you're kind of in trouble, or you've won the game. Because if you don't need to Cataclysm, they can't apply enough pressure, and the game's over. So yeah, then you go for your Cataclysm, 4 wipes the board, clears all the problems out from, well, everywhere, apart from stuff like Lamp, which is pretty critical actually. I personally hate Cataclysm as a card. I play it because it's powerful, but I hate it because it's just a reset button, and it means that you can't really get punished for making mistakes. But yeah, as long as it's around, you definitely want to use it in these kinds of control decks. 4 of, for sure. It's also just a decent one. It's just a decent hard removal spell. Like, I think a lot of people don't like firing off Cataclysms in matchups where it's like, oh, they only have 1 creature. Yeah, but if it's an Antriel, you kill it with the Cataclysm. Or if it's a dragon, just use the Cataclysm. It doesn't have to be a 2 or 3 for 1. It can still be a solid removal spell. So after your Cataclysm, this is when you want to start setting up your win conditions and your methods of getting to them. So your win con is Vampirism, well, all the way around there, but yeah, Vampirism and Lamp of Zafir. Now, how do you get these cards? Well, you've got your 4 Djinn of Wishes. This thing is absolutely nuts, and it's kind of insane that we weren't using it up until now. But yeah, 2/5, it's almost immortal against a lot of decks. Dies to assassinate, and that's about it. It dies to assassinate and sacrifice effects. That's pretty much it. Against Rage, the thing is almost unkillable, and against green decks, they just have to bounce it and things like that, and it's really awkward to deal with. It doesn't always hit, but when it does, you get to pick. You have, say, 2 Djinns in play, and you can go end of turn, double Djinn, and then your turn, 2 more Djinns. You've just drawn 2 cards. You've just looked at 14 cards for your win con. That's crazy. So yeah, Djinn actually does let you dig through your deck very, very fast and get your win conditions, and also means that you can kind of skimp on some of the numbers on some of your spells and artifacts, since your Djinns can effectively get them eventually. It'll take a couple turns, but they will get your 1-offs. Which is why some of these decks play a lot of 1-offs. There's only 2 1-offs this entire deck, I think. But the original version had like 3 or 4. So Djinn of Wishes, very, very powerful. And I have kind of laughably called this Djinn Control before. You got your 4 Library Guards, your 4 Djinn. Yeah, it's Djinn Control. So Djinn lets you set things up for your major win condition. Lamp of Zafir. Yes, the 4/3 lamp that can't be cataclysmed and can only really be dealt with flash freeze and artifact removal. That's about it. The reason I say that is because Vampirism pumps it up to 5/4, meaning that you can't fireball it. So Lamp is an incredible win con, and the only problem with Lamp, well, besides the double blue requirement, but the only problem with Lamp is it's so mana hungry. It takes 5 mana to set up, and then you need to pay 2 mana every single time you want to activate it. That's where the hero power comes in. Basic Despina essentially allows you to mitigate the price of setting up multiple lamps and a vampirism in the same turn. So for instance, if you want to set up 2 lamps and a vampirism, you need 13 mana. That's a lot, because you want to attack with them immediately. You need 13 mana, that's crazy. If you actually had that much mana, you probably should just be playing dragons instead. So that's the idea, is that it takes insane amounts of mana. However, if you've got Basic Despina, you play a lamp, you can play a lamp and activate it, that's 5. And then if you've got 8 mana, you can set this all up. You only need 8. Pretty sure you only need 8, right? Yeah. You go lamp, and then, yeah, you can go double lamp, refresh, activate, play a Vampirism, you actually have 1 mana left over as well. Not that you can really do anything with it. But with 8 mana, 8 mana and 4 levels, you've just set up 10 swift damage with Lifebound. So yeah, the basic just being a hero power does absolutely insane things when it comes to setting up lamps. And it is incredibly powerful and very, very hard to interact with. It also doesn't die to your own Cataclysms, meaning that you can always get attacks through with your Cataclysms, which is huge. Vampirism. Now, Vampirism has a drawback on it, which doesn't really hurt that much. I have accidentally killed myself with Vampirism once before, so watch that. But yeah, Vampirism's drawback doesn't lose you that much life, considering Lamps is what's doing most of the work, and Lamps do not get the drawback. Now, the buff in general is crazy. Multiples aren't as good because the drawback gets doubled and the benefit doesn't quite get doubled because you don't get double Lifebound. Obviously, you only get the +1/+1. However, double Vampirism is how you win the mirror. That's why there are 3 Vampirisms, 4 lamps. You need multiple lamps and you need multiple Vampirisms, because if you have 2 Vampirisms, the lamps become 6/5s, which means they can't be traded with your opponent's lamps if he's ahead on lamps but behind on life total, for instance. So Vampirism is the mirror breaker along with lamp. You need multiple copies of each, and that's why there's so many copies of them in the deck. Both very, very powerful. Vampirism is also just how you beat rage decks. So that's your basic win condition. Now, the rest of the stuff is mostly designed to either stabilize the board or help you progress towards your win condition. So in terms of stabilization, we've got 1 Helm, mostly for angels, but also just comes up in random other times. Only 1, you'd think, oh, that's inconsistent. But no, Djinn digs through your entire deck, so you can often just get your Helm. There was a Silencer on this list. I cut it, though, because it wasn't fantastic against control decks. But Silencer is very, very good against the green and rage decks, so you may want to consider that. So yeah, 1 Helm, 2 Karthus, bit situational, but he's very, very powerful. The reason he's a bit situational is because he can't deal with everything, but he can deal with the vast majority of creatures. He can deal with the vast, vast majority, but he's legendary, and you've got Cataclysm and Helm to deal with stuff as well. But he is quite useful. The life gain component also helps quite a lot against, say, Rage, where you can play Karthus, you can kill something, gain 2 life, he plays Flame Serpent, attacks, and then, because the Karthus got the kill on the Flame Serpent, you actually gain a life there as well. So you've effectively just stopped 5 and gained 3. And probably stopped another 2 from the goblin you just killed, so you've gained a ton of life off the Karthus. So yeah, Karthus is a very, very good anti... He's just sort of a catch-all almost for creatures. He doesn't quite deal with stuff like Vulture or Antriel. He does deal with Dragon because you got the Vampire counters and things like that. So yeah, you got weakness counters to deal with Dragon. So Karthus does deal with the vast majority of creatures, and he also stabilizes you a bit. Very, very nice card. Now, the last of the random tech cards is Draya. Yes, playing 1. I actually quite like this card now. I didn't like the first rendition of it. It was too underpowered. But I'm fairly happy with it now. I'm not massively happy with it. I still think that the second ability is a bit strange. But I do like playing with the first ability, and the body on it is fine. So you get your 3/4, you get to take a burn spell usually, something like Dragonfire is a big one to take, and if they draw a card, so what, it's probably worse than what they had. Same goes for Word of Grace, and if they don't have anything useful, just don't use the ability. It's actually quite handy. And Draya also has that thing against stuff like Rage, where you play it, take the Dragonfire, and then it blocks a Flame Serpent, and you've just healed for 9 damage. It's absolutely insane against Rage. I still have yet to use the second ability. It does come up very, very rarely, because you have to leave tons of mana up, and there's only 1 in the deck. So yeah, but it's still a semi-useful second ability, but the first ability is very, very handy for the cost. And this used to be a Mind Extortion. I'd rather have a Draya, because Mind Extortion can miss and be pointless, whereas Draya is at least a decent creature. Although you can't get it with Djinn, but there's a trade-off. Now, the last card in the deck is Gnome Power Engineer. Just 2. Now, Gnome Power Engineer deals with mostly just Portal and Lamps, which allows you to, well, swing the Demons matchup from bad to almost even, in my experience. It's not even. It's about 60-40, but it's better than it could be, that's for sure. So it definitely helps in that matchup. And in the mirror, 4 Lamps, 3 Vampirisms, 2 Gnomes. Usually win the mirror. If you're fighting straight Vamp Lamp, this will usually win. I mean, it's what the deck was designed to do, pretty much. As for the shrine counts, let's go into the actual deck builder so you can kind of see the numbers. We've got 9 Wisdom and 9 Dominion total, 2 Cathedral. Now, Cathedral, I often don't need it until much later in the game, like turn 7 or 8, so you can keep divining through your deck, so it's not as bad. Only 18 Shrines is a little sketchy, but missing Divines isn't too bad. You have to mulligan correctly, but missing Divines isn't too bad because you've got a lot of extra draw in the deck. So you can usually build your hand size back up. I would have thought 19 would be correct, but I actually got the 18 from a lot of other lists that were running 18. I tried it, and honestly, it's not too bad. But I could definitely see cutting, say, an Assassinate for a 19th Shrine. Now, the second Cathedral gets a bit awkward sometimes, but you can use New Horizons to get it out of your deck if you got the first one early, so it works. And Cathedral in general is a very, very powerful card, gives you some life gain, works with your mutants. Very, very solid removal spell that is reusable. So anyway, let's see if we can find a game in Ranked. Now, as for matchups, I mentioned it has a bit of an issue against demons. Wisdom Dominion is almost a catch-all. It has pretty okay matchups against the vast majority of stuff. It is quite sketchy against demons, elves, and certain types of rage, but that depends on the build. This build is sketchy against the full face rush rage deck. Burning Rage, not so much, but the actual like full crazy 4 Flame Serpent massive assault deck is a problem. Elves is an issue, it's too quick, and the burst combos are a bit insane, and Demons is not unwinnable like it used to be, but okay, it was never unwinnable, but you know what I mean. But it's definitely better with the Double Gnome addition. Draya also helps against stuff like Consume. So overall, besides those decks, it's favored against almost everything else. It will happily fight most control mirrors, it will happily fight against stuff like Angels or the slower decks. It's generally just a good deck. As we have a mirror match. Now this hand is not very good. I need a ramp spell, and this is just way too slow. This is also bad. But this looks like a mirror match, so it's not too awful. Now, I'll go up a mana here. I'm using the Wisdom because I want to go maybe mana with Cathedral and then Dominion Shrine. So, looks like we're just going to have an Assassinate into Library Guards. Now, not having a ramp spell does hurt, but going first isn't as bad, because when you ramp with Spark, you're basically just saying, I'm going to go first. That's basically what you're doing, and I'm kind of okay with it, because it just means I'm effectively going second now. Like, he's not fully down a card. If you go Power Surge on turn 1, yes, you're just saying you're going first. You're down a card, you're down the Spark, and yeah, you're down a card and a Spark, but you get your mana first each time. Now, we're just going to go up a Cathedral here. But if you go Horizons, you're not technically down a card in the long run, as I mentioned in the deck tech, meaning that it's not as bad. Now, we're going to Assassinate this, and then we're just going to go for our own Library Guards, and then if he has a second one, god damn it, and then if he has a second one, then we can just use the weakness counter. I don't like double lamp. There are 4 in the deck, so I'd rather just get one out now. Next turn, I can potentially use Refresh to set up a Djinn. Depends what he does. If he goes for like some weird ramp turn or something, like a do-nothing turn, basically, like a draw ramp turn, then I can just go ramp, Refresh, Djinn. Interesting. Okay, now I could use the hero power, but I think I want to set up a board that's semi-threatening. Means we get the 3/3 down, and we can probably deal with anything he plays, and then I can make it into a 4/4, so this is a little sketchy for him to deal with. And then next turn, I can ramp and then play a Djinn off it. Wisdom Dominion mirror matches have always been a bit odd, but they're not too bad anymore. Mostly because they're all playing... Well, not all. Some are playing Dragon. But the vast majority are playing large amounts of lamp, so it's not really a case of, like, well, you get screwed over if you do or do not have the lamp. Well, there goes one of my lamps, which is annoying. He has to move back. Yeah. Okay, so we draw here. I can go New Horizons, Djinn, Let's get rid of the Cataclysm, because I think he's going to have to Cataclysm. So New Horizons for the second Cathedral. We'll play a Djinn, we'll activate it immediately. Grab a Vampirism, that's nice. We get 5 damage in. He probably has to Cataclysm this. And then I get to set up another Djinn and also a Vampirism because I want to get it out of my hand if possible. Yeah. We'll play the Djinn first, because I might hit a lamp or something. There you go. And now I actually want to refresh here. I don't know if he has any other Mind Extortion effects. Now, I could just activate an attack, or I could play the Ancient Wisdom. I think I want to push some damage. He's a little behind on setup, so I want to push a bit of damage if possible. I could have drawn there, I could have... Yeah, I could have drawn, was basically the other option. I could have also set up the Vampirism there instead and gone for like Vampirism draw, but I need the extra lamps. Like, there are still 2 Vampirisms in the deck. He probably has some gnomes, which means I need to make use of my 3 lamps as much as I can. That first Draya on that lamp was huge. That's a big deal. Hitting lamp with Draya is pretty much the best you can do, in the mirror match at least. Outside of something really random like Reanimate. That's annoying. Draw. So we definitely want to assassinate here. I think what we're going to do is we're going to play Assassinate. We're going to use... okay, we're going to use this ability. More Assassinate. I want to get use out of my Blood Seekings while I can. Get them on the board if possible. Because my hero power will feed into them, and I've got a Vampirism in hand, so I can start pushing some damage. Helm. That isn't too bad. That's kind of funny, actually. Alright. Okay, so I've got a couple of options here. I can see if he wants to switch and then just assassinate it anyway. I think that's the play I want to make, actually. Alright, so I need 6 mana for the play I want to make. So we'll play the Vampirism, we'll go for the kill on this. If he switches, then I just assassinate the Djinn. And then I get both kills. Alright, so now I can Power Surge because I need... Nah, I need to save that gnome for a lamp. Okay, so that worked out perfectly. I need to save that gnome for a lamp. It's kind of a big deal. I've got 2 lamps left. He probably has 3 or 4. It's difficult to tell. Surge. Only 1 Cataclysm has been played this game. It's kind of amusing. Alright, here comes the Vampirism. Oh boy, okay. Yeah, this is what I was talking about earlier. The crazy lamp setups. That was double lamp. Yeah, double lamp with a Vampirism in 1 turn. It can get absolutely insane sometimes. Speaking of absolutely insane. Double gnome. Okay, let's get rid of a helm. Get the Djinn set up, try and get a lamp or something. No. That was incredibly lucky on my part, just want to say that. That was incredibly lucky. So we're both a little drained on resources right now. I have 2 lamps, he probably also has 2. He might have 1. If he only has 1, I'm really far ahead. But I think he has more than 1. Wow. He's almost out of resources. 1 lamp. So we can power surge multiple times and we can go for a ridiculous turn here. Now, I think I Karthus 1, and then I get a 6/5 lamp and kill the other. I've done this ordering wrong. Alright, so we gain a ton of life off that. I think I just play the Horizons, right? Nah, he could be running something like Silencer. The thinning the deck thing is not worth it. He could be running something random like Silencer, so I'd rather keep the Horizons to burst down a Silencer. Yeah, it's not worth it. So I only have 1 more lamp, but I've got double Vampirism. He still has 1 more gnome because he got it with the Draya, which is huge. Can't really overstate that. It's absolutely massive that he got that. Potentially game ending. So we both had utterly insane Draya. I mean not Draya. Utterly insane Despina turns. All right. So now we gain our 12 life. We might actually life gain win soon. If this was the old Karthus where I could Cataclysm for the victory here. But it's not. Where the original Karthus gained life for whenever anything died on the field, so you could Cataclysm there and gain 8. It was very, very, very silly. Alright, he needs like... Well, what he needs is a crazy turn. He needs like Cataclysm Lamp. Okay. Yeah, that double gnome was huge. The deciding turns of that game were the 2 big power turn swings. So he had his crazy like 20 mana turn, with 18 actually, because he used 2 for the hero power, where he went double lamp Vampirism in 1 turn, which completely destroyed me there. And if I didn't have 2 gnomes, I think if I had 1, it would have kept going, it would have been close, and we have no idea how that would have gone. If I only had 1, it would have been close. Having 2 just completely swung the game in my favor. We both took out 2 lamps in that game. Having the second gnome was just huge, and being able to power through was a very, very big deal. That turn also with the library guards and the Djinn of Wishes bluffing the kill on the Djinn, so he switches, because he's like, well, he might not have Assassinate, right? So he has to switch, and then I Assassinate to get both kills for free, essentially. When I would not be able to do that with my mana set was also something else to take note there. And, I mean, the turn that closed it out was the crazy double Vampirism lamp with a Karthus in 1 turn. Like, Basic Despina has some insane utility when it comes to control decks. But anyway, that is about it for my Wisdom Dominion deck tech. Now, keep in mind that any deck techs I've done either this week or last week will probably be changing quite quickly with the next set coming out, so they're a little bit of like a baseline. I'll be doing the Rage one later on this week after, let's see, so tomorrow I'll be doing my secret card stream as usual. Then I think I'll probably do the red deck tech on Wednesday, and then I'll do the news on Thursday or Friday. And then that'll probably be all the videos for this week. But anyway, as for now, thank you all for watching. If you like the content, please subscribe. If you have any feedback or want to ask me any questions, put it in the comment section below. The deck list will be in the description. If you want to support the channel directly, then please go over and check out my Patreon. Link is below, along with a 75,000 gold referral link with the Disquisitive Spirit Card Back included for any new players. But as for now, it's been Jotto, signing off.